Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
Due to financial reasons, interest rates, job losses.
Pre-sale condo panic as buyers struggle to close, how one developer is hoping to alleviate some of that pressure. Plus,
the wind from the west, southwest, and northwest will continue to drive this fire towards the east.
Wildfires are heating up across the province, forcing dozens of people to flee their homes, with others ready to leave at a moment's notice. And
we cannot live in fear, but we have to continue our life as it is.
Marking 40 days since the Lapu Lapu Day Festival tragedy, with memorial masses and events across Metro Vancouver.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Janella Hamilton. Thanks for joining us. With completion dates approaching for those who bought into the pre-sale market years ago, some real estate agents say their clients are struggling to close. As Shivani Joshi reports, one Surrey developer is promising a bold guarantee in the face of the cooling market.
Pre-sales have long been a win-win for both buyers and developers. A chance for buyers to score a good deal on a home that they might be able to flip later for a profit, and a chance for builders to finance their construction. But an influx of empty homes in Surrey are examples of buyers' dreams turning into nightmares. One real estate agent says she's seeing it firsthand as some of her clients are panicking with closing dates approaching.
People that have purchased in the past like 2-3 years, they're the ones that are getting hit with the worst situations and not able to close due to financial reasons, interest rates, job losses.
And in some cases, the value of pre-sale units have dipped below the contract price.
It's not going to get appraised as much as what they purchased for. So now the people have to not only close with all these taxes on top, they also have to come up with the difference.
One Surrey developer is hoping a never-before-seen offer might bring hesitant buyers back to the table.
If life circumstances change, something changes and happens, we will buy back the unit at the full purchase price.
Upon completion of the tower, buyers can either sell their unit back to the developer at the price they originally purchased, minus taxes and fees, or the buyer can lease it back to the developer at a premium rental rate.
Buyers feel like the real estate proposition is very one-sided. They feel alone. They feel like they're taking on all the risk, they're taking on all the uncertainty. And for a lot of people, it could be their life savings.
Oja Rudy says it's a step in the right direction, but buyers need to be sure to negotiate.
You have to really negotiate out there. There's a lot of good programs. Developers are being very creative as to throwing in a lifeline and be like, here, this is what we're offering you.
Maybe some good news for those trying to get a toe in the market, but for those trying to sell today,
they're feeling exhausted. We have been playing the therapist role for the past a year or so.
Shivani Joshi, CBC News, Surrey.
The BC Wildfire Service says spot fires from an out-of-control blaze are now burning in the community of Kelly Lake, which is home to about 70 people. The Kiskatna River wildfire in the province's northeast has now grown to almost 74 square kilometers since yesterday, with more than 100 personnel and 12 helicopters fighting it. The Peace River Regional District is urging people under evacuation order to leave immediately, saying first responders may soon not be able to rescue trapped residents. Grand Prairie County in Alberta also has evacuation orders in place as officials warn the blaze will grow across the border.
The wind from the west, southwest, and northwest will continue to drive this fire towards the east. Again, with those elevated winds, tomorrow we could have wind up to 70 kilometers an hour or potentially even stronger. Those winds are expected to continue through until Sunday and potentially Monday under the forecast conditions.
A campfire ban came into effect at noon today for the Dawson Creek, Fort St. John, and Fort Nelson fire zones. The Summit Lake wildfire also remains out of control at 26 square kilometers in size. skies, and an area southeast of Prince George is now under evacuation alert due to the Pocket Knife Creek wildfire burning near the Alaska Highway. There are currently 68 active wildfires burning in BC. Darius is away, so Steve Jung is joining us now with a first look at our weather. Steve?
We're dealing with increased fire danger across the province, especially here in northeastern BC, around Fort Nelson and in parts of the Peace region. Extreme fire danger and special air statements because of the smoke that 2 wildfires of note are currently throwing up into the air. And we're also expecting some high winds to hit the northern part of the province over the course of the next few days. Some winds gusting up to close to 50 kilometers an hour, if not more. BC Wildfire Service is concerned that this could make it tricky for those fires that are currently burning. And those temperatures that we see right now across the province, not much of relief in terms of precipitation, I'm afraid.
All right, thanks so much, Steve. 3 people have been taken to hospital after an explosion on a sailboat in the Vancouver Island community of Bowser.
The house just shook. Felt like one of the cedar trees fell on the house. All my neighbors are all reporting that their house just moved.
2 of the people on the boat at Deep Bay Marina were taken to hospital by air ambulance. BC Emergency Health Services say 1 is in critical and 1 is in serious condition. The 3rd person was taken to hospital in stable condition. The suspected cause officials say is a possible propane leak that ignited. 40 days have passed since the Lapu Lapu Day tragedy when 11 people were killed after an SUV drove into a crowd at a street festival. Memorial events are being held across Metro Vancouver to mourn the victims. But as Mira Baines reports, some are criticizing the City of Vancouver's approach.
We cannot live in fear, but we have to continue our life as it is.
Family, friends, and community members are marking 40 days since the tragedy by holding a memorial mass for the 11 people who died. It signifies the end of a mourning period in the Filipino Catholic tradition.
It's time for us to let him go, or let the person who passed away go, and put that everything into the hands of God.
In addition to a memorial mass at St. Andrew's Parish Church, there will be a march and gathering at Memorial South Park. Still, as the community moves forward with events for victims, there is lingering controversy over the City of Vancouver's initial plans for a memorial event at Rogers Arena. The group Filipino BC says it seems the city failed to engage with victims and families before passing a motion for an event now confirmed to be a benefit concert.
Were the victims and families consulted? And we're still asking that question today. We know that when that motion came out, it's our understanding is that they weren't spoken to.
A close friend of Kira Salem, who is one of the 11 victims, says the city's decision to move forward with a large-scale memorial event without involving friends and family came as a shock.
Feelings of maybe a lack of respect, maybe a little bit of anger in the fact that we weren't notified, we weren't asked if we wanted to participate.
Stevens is also concerned the date of the city's event could conflict with other events to remember loved ones. A celebration of life for Salem, who is a teacher-counselor, is taking place later this month. Since controversy erupted over the lack of engagement with families, Council unanimously passed a resolution calling for more consultation for the event with victims and families. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
The Wildlife Rescue Association of BC says they've lost federal funding for the 2nd consecutive year. The funding allows them to hire 12 summer staff, including student wildlife rehabilitators.
Hands-on, and we just need the hands here. So the staff is working really hard with the volunteers to make up for that, but it's definitely a challenge.
The association now mainly depends on donations and volunteers to run their care facility and hospital. They also already have 300 bird rescues in their care. It says summer is one of their busiest times of the year. A new innovative cardiac care center is coming to Vancouver General Hospital. That's thanks to a record-setting philanthropic gift from a Canadian company. As Chad Pawson reports, the new center aims to be one of the leading cardiovascular institutes in the world.
AJ Delari, part of Canada's largest automotive company, is giving back to healthcare, in part due to the BC cardiac care his 90-year-old father received. Instead of open heart surgery, it was cutting edge, non-invasive, in and out in one day.
It was a sigh of relief. You know, we were so grateful, because at his age, you know, there could be complications, and the risk factor is quite a bit higher. So, you know, we were just it was a godsend.
Inspired by the care, the family's foundation partnered with the VGH and UBC Hospital Foundation to come up with the Delari Cardiovascular Institute, putting up a $60 million donation.
It is the largest in the history of VGH and UBC Hospital Foundation. But it's not just a donation. It's a bold and visionary investment in the future, a future where patients live longer, healthier lives thanks to faster access, more precise treatment, and world-class innovation.
A world-leading institute here in Vancouver has long been the vision of the doctor who will now lead it. He says it will be a difference maker for cardiac patients, but also make the region a healthcare leader.
There's a reason why my colleagues now are sending their resumes here so that they can come and work with us in Vancouver. I love that any patient, age, gender, background, wherever they're from, we can treat. But no, this allows us to go to the next level, kind of take the best part of the different medical systems around the world, but do it right here in Canada.
Shovels in the ground for the institute here are expected in 2 years, with an opening by 2031. Chad Pawson, CBC News, Vancouver.
The Granville Street Strip in downtown Vancouver has long been the center of the city's entertainment hub and the center of debates over how to improve it. But now, as Justin McElroy reports, Vancouver City Council has passed a new plan to eventually change what's on the street and get vehicles off of it.
Granville Street. For more than a century, it's been the north-south spine of downtown Vancouver, the hub of the entertainment district. And for nearly that entire time, people have been complaining about it. A generation ago, Granville's new future was here, and it was going to be great again. But in 1991, it was described as a tired street. In 1980, people said its street people aren't what they used to be. And more than 50 years ago, a redevelopment of the street was the first time in nearly 40 years it was any good.
It's probably the most complex street in the downtown. It's got transit mixing with other vehicles. It's got all sorts of retailing. It's got entertainment, which creates both activity and social challenges. It's got SROs. It's got everything.
The question is, how do you make it all fit? The pubs, the people, the places, the families, the entertainment options, all in one place? The City of Vancouver now thinks they have the plan.
Well, this plan has been a long time coming.
On Wednesday, Council unanimously passed a new 20-year plan for Granville Street and the downtown core. It includes rezonings for rental housing, replacing SROs with social housing, a plaza at Granville and Robson, and promoting a lot more of the street's famous neon.
But we also want to imagine a new, modernized, revitalized Granville Street that people want to go to, not just for nightlife, but during the daytime, not just on the weekend.
But perhaps most importantly, making all of the Granville Mall pedestrian only, from the bridge to the waterfront, with buses and other vehicles redirected to Howe and Seymour.
This is big, audacious city making, and it's about time, because frankly, Vancouver has not done enough of this.
But will it actually happen? The city's 2023 pilot for a car-free U Street was a dud, and their 2024 pilot on Water Street is getting significantly dialed back this summer after complaints by a few businesses. And aside from some pilot projects, the pedestrian-free vision won't happen for 5 years.
What can we do in the short term while we're also planning for the long term? But it's not a question of, quickly slapping something up. It's about actually developing a public space that has some really quality elements that people are going to want to spend time in.
Everyone likes that idea for Granville Street, which is why virtually all of the comments at City Hall on Wednesday were positive. But 5 years is a long time to see before any major changes. The question becomes whether that allows the city enough time to make this go right, or whether it's too much time to keep up energy, and the next stories about Granville Street end up being very much the same as the current ones. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
A cheap lunchtime go-to now stuck behind a paywall. Why the downtown Vancouver Costco will soon require a membership to purchase items from its food court, meaning no more $1.50 hot dogs for the general public. Why they've made that change, up next. The Vancouver Whitecaps say a significant number of players and staff reported gastrointestinal symptoms after returning from Mexico, where they lost the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
It's more than 50% of the people that have been on the plane, but there were more staff members than players on the plane. But I think it's also pretty fair to say that it was more than 50% of the players.
The club says after consulting with medical experts, they canceled training on Wednesday. Schuster says they will continue with Sunday's match against Seattle as long as they have enough healthy players. Some changes are coming to the downtown Vancouver Costco. Starting later this summer, its food court will no longer be available for everyone to enjoy. As Pinky Wong reports, if you want that cheap hot dog, you're going to have to pay for it.
This Costco here on Expo Boulevard in downtown Vancouver is unique.
People who don't have memberships, they always come to get a hot dog.
Costco staff here says this is the only Costco in Canada that has the food court outside of the main shopping area. And this outdoor food court has long been a popular stop for Costco members and non-members alike, not to mention fans of the nearby Canucks and BC Lions, as well as residents in the area to grab a quick bite to eat. But these quick bites are coming to an end for those who don't have a Costco membership. Signs here note starting on August 5th, an active Costco membership will be required to buy food inside the food court. Let's hear how people think about it.
It's pretty much imposed in many Costco's in the Lower Mainland. Only this one is really lax about this, and there's always a big crowd because it's downtown. And I'm for it myself because it's a member benefit.
I'm really disappointed about it because I feel like it's the last place in Vancouver that's like genuinely cheap for people to visit. Even McDonald's now is like $7 for their cheapest combo, and here it's like $1.50 for a hot dog.
Maybe it will be less people buying the things in the court because so much people don't have the membership.
There's other alternatives, so I'm not too mad about it, but their poutine is pretty good.
So they want the footfalls to come over there. This is just an incentive that they can do it. So I see it from the way that Costco wants to do something.
CBC News reached out to Costco and asked about the change, and they say it's their policy and did not explain further. Pinky Wong, CBC News, Vancouver.
The top salaries for Metro Vancouver's regional government have been released. The organization has been criticized for the salaries and expenses of politicians and senior staff. And while the new numbers show decreases, as Justin McElroy reports, they will likely still raise some eyebrows.
If you think Metro Vancouver managers and politicians make too much money, well, the newest report probably won't change that. Metro Vancouver has released its newest statement of financial information showing how much everyone made last year. Here is a chart. It shows the top 10 paid employees for the regional government who look after our water and sewage systems, and these salaries are about the same as the top paid people in the city of Vancouver. Well, except for one. CAO Jerry Dorpelvoni didn't make quite as much as last year, when a salary adjustment gave him more than $700,000. However, it was still north of $500,000, with an extra $50,000 in taxable benefits. Now, Metro Vancouver argues the salary is fair because they compare his salary almost exclusively to other quasi-political bodies. But what if we compare his salary to other political bodies, other city and regional government managers? Here is another chart. Metro Vancouver pays its head more than any other regional or local government we could find in the country, and it's not particularly close. Now, as for travel expenses by board members, after all the criticism last year, they were down by 37% compared to 2023, with the highest expenses for former Chair George Harvey, who charged nearly $28,000 for travel and conferences. Of course, he was removed as chair by Delta councillors shortly before those expenses became public. A reminder that sometimes anger over public sector salaries results in action, though a $21,000 round-trip flight to Singapore tends to create a little bit more anger than most. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
A gorgeous day to walk the beach in Tofino with mist shrouding the outer islands off Mackenzie Beach. More sunny skies to come for all parts of the province. Steve is back with weather next. StatsCan has released its report on exports for the month of April, showing a staggering drop. It also reveals Canada's global trade deficit for that month reached a historic high at $7.1 billion. Anis Haydari has more.
Exports from Canada took a sharp dive in April, especially for Canadian manufacturers. Industrial equipment and parts down more than 22%.
It's the perception that we could see a future tariff or that we have a tariff coming in. So that has basically made our U.S. sales, it vaporized them. There's been almost zero U.S. sales since Donald Trump has taken office.
Exports to the United States in particular, a big drop, down 15.7%. And auto parts manufacturing hit very hard, down nearly 18%. The industry blames tariffs.
The automakers are now all saying they're going to start pricing in the tariff to the end consumer. So what we've seen as a dampening in demand will be a freeze in demand. By the way, I don't need your seats and I don't need your springs. We're very worried about that.
Softening trade with the U.S. also has the Bank of Canada worried.
Canada's trade is very concentrated with the United States. Look, it's always going to be concentrated with the United States. Just look at a map. I mean, Canada and the United States, I mean, geography is determinant. But that doesn't mean we can't diversify our trade.
Economists say that's not enough at this point.
The losses that we suffered with the trade with the U.S. Have not been in any way made up by our exports to other regions. The good news is that we did see a good, solid increase in exports to other parts of the world.
Like so many Canadian economic indicators, it still comes down to U.S. tariffs.
So this trade war is going to have real implications on shutting down production, slowing production, shutting down production in some cases, hopefully temporarily. And that means layoffs, job losses.
This data was called unsurprisingly ugly by a Canadian bank. At a minimum, it's another indication of economic pain hitting this country. Anis Haydari, CBC News, Calgary.
The relationship between Donald Trump and Elon Musk is unraveling tonight. Musk officially left the administration last week and took aim at a Trump-backed budget bill. In the Oval Office today, Trump sniped back. Sasha Petrusik has more on the rift between the two apex figures in the MAGA movement that could damage them both.
Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore.
During an Oval Office press conference with the German Chancellor, Donald Trump wasn't pleased, targeting his ultra-wealthy one-time ally, Elon Musk.
But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Musk has spent the week attacking Trump's signature legislation, a massive budget bill which Musk called a disgusting abomination. It's now before the Senate, at risk of being voted down. Trump accuses Musk of self-interest in denouncing the bill.
And he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate. We catch anybody doing
Not so long ago, Trump was promoting Musk's EV, the Tesla, on the White House lawn. It was part of a bromance that went back to the presidential campaign, each seeming to be the other's biggest fan.
A star is born, Elon.
Musk contributed more than $250 million to finance Trump's run for the White House.
Now he's an amazing guy.
And as recently as last week, Trump praised Musk, presenting him with a golden key for his service in cutting government spending. Now all that goodwill apparently gone.
And I'll be honest, I think he misses the place. It's sort of Trump derangement syndrome, I guess they call it.
In response, Musk predicted that Trump's tariffs will cause a recession. He endorsed a call for Trump's impeachment. He even accused Trump of trying to hide files related to Jeffrey Epstein, the former financier and child sex offender, because, says Musk, Trump is in those files. Posting, "Have a nice day, DJT." He provided no evidence.
That's Sasha Petrusik reporting from Washington. Communities destroyed as fires continue to rip through the prairie provinces. That's next. Stay with us.
The weather update is brought to you by BC Cancer Foundation. Support BC Cancer Foundation by leaving a gift in your will and join our 90-year legacy of driving life-saving innovations.
Steve Jung is back with a look at our full weather forecast. Steve?
Janella, we continue seeing some increased fire danger, especially in large swaths of northern BC. Take a look here in the northeast. Extreme fire danger around Fort Nelson, as well as in parts of the Peace. But this area here, just sort of in between those two areas, this orange one here, this was actually completely red earlier today. It has since been downgraded from extreme fire danger to high, but we're not quite out of the woods yet. We still see some increased fire danger in central parts of the province, as well as in parts of southern BC. Unfortunately, we're not, this is another part of it that's also affecting the current wildfire situation. The latest drought conditions report, not surprising, in the northeast is where we see the worst drought conditions, especially around Fort Nelson and here in eastern parts of the Peace. But earlier, when we got the last report, some of these parts here in the interior and southeastern BC, they actually weren't reporting last week. They are now. They're reporting at drought level 0, so that is a good sign as we head into the weekend. Still expecting some very high winds over the next few days, especially in the northern part of the province, gusting up to as high as 50 kilometers an hour in some places. BC Wildfire Service is concerned that could make fighting those current blazes extremely tricky in the northeastern part of the province. Unfortunately, we're also not going to have much in the way of support, of relief from precipitation. We do see some showers approaching in the northern parts of the province, but as it gets to the northeastern area, it tapers off and becomes quite scattered. Unfortunately for southern BC, really just some scattered showers over the North Island. Nighttime temperatures across BC, mostly cloud cover through most of the province, a chance of showers in the northern part of BC, as well as the north and central coast, as well as in the Peace and in the central interior. And tomorrow, though, as that's where we're going to see those temperatures really begin to rise, 30 degrees in Kamloops and 31 in Osoyoos. As we get to Saturday, we'll see those temperatures hold around the high 20s in southern BC. And then as we get to Sunday, we'll see increases of as much as 5 or 6 degrees, if not more. So it is going to be extremely hot. There are currently some special weather statements in place. Tomorrow, we'll see a mix of sun and cloud through most of the province, clear skies into Fino and Whistler, and we'll see low 20 temperatures for Metro Vancouver. That'll carry us through to the weekend.
All right, thanks, Steve. To fires in the rest of the country now. Crews continue to fight out of control wildfires in northern Saskatchewan. As at least one community has been allowed to return home, the danger isn't yet over. Alexander Silberman has more on the situation on the ground.
We're here in the community of Weyahquin on the edge of 2 wildfires. This is a community that was largely spared by these wildfires that came dangerously close. You can see the contrast around me. This forest over here completely charred by fire that burned a perimeter entirely around the community. The only greenery left just right in the village as that fire came dangerously close to homes, stopping just a few hundred meters away from residential areas. We had the chance to speak with some firefighters here on the ground, still working to put out hot spots and stop those flames from reigniting and threatening the hamlet. And they described to us what the challenging conditions have been like on the ground. Have a listen.
It used to be nice out here, actually. There's a lot of green. There's nothing but black around here now. Trees, all the deadfalls all burnt up. It's a big difference.
The people who live here in Weyahquin are among the upwards of 10,000 people forced out of their homes in Saskatchewan from these fires. Some of them are expected to come back to Weyahquin today to see what conditions are like here on the ground, but many are expected to stay in Prince Albert in the cities in the south for a number of days. We heard from a family that evacuated earlier who say they don't know when they'll be able to return home to their community.
Just, I don't know when we're going to go home, if we're going to have a home when we get back.
This highway is where thousands of people fleeing their homes in northern Saskatchewan have been traveling in recent days. The conditions along the highway have been incredibly hazardous. There's still active fire burning right along the roadway. You can see this thick smoke billowing behind me from that fire, creating limited to zero visibility. At the curve of this road, you can hear the crackling of the flames as that fire continues to threaten the roadway, making it difficult for people to travel to safety. And with these hot and dry conditions, there's no sign of relief in sight in the forecast for the firefighting crews on the ground. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Waiakwin, Saskatchewan.
As wildfires rage across Manitoba and people evacuate, a temporary animal shelter has opened for pets who were left behind. Zubina Ahmed brings us more.
In the rush to house human evacuees from Manitoba's wildfires, the family pets are often forgotten. Now there's a temporary pop-up animal shelter at the St. Norbert Community Centre. Carly Peters from the Winnipeg Humane Society says it has the capacity to take in 60 animals.
You get your food and water and your enrichment, and that includes, cuddles from volunteers, but also like frozen Kongs or lick mats, regular walks, and exercise in the beautiful hockey rink that St. Norbert has provided for us as an exercise space for the animals.
Cara Hollick is the vet tech at Winnipeg Humane Society.
We'll assess them for any wounds or signs of dehydration. I'm assuming these animals are coming from a long commute and in very stressful situations. Anything that smoke inhalation or their signs of dehydration or distress.
Christina Von Schindler, CEO of the Winnipeg Humane Society, says over 40 volunteers are at the facility to look after the animals. They set up the shelter in 3 days and would create more if the need arises.
Everything else you're going through and all the stress and all the change, at the very least you can count that your pets will be safe, cared for, loved, and receive all the care we can offer them.
Schindler says evacuees need to register with the Red Cross to get their pets in. Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The fire in western Manitoba near Flin Flon is now several times the size of the city of Winnipeg. Riley Laychuk explains how the fire got this big.
At the beginning of May, the province looked like this. Although there are those small yellow stars that indicate a heat source, there was no significant fire activity at the start of May. As the month progressed, though, the weather in the province was warmer than usual and it stayed quite dry. And you can see that those conditions caused those hot spots to increase. Those red spaces you're seeing, that shows the perimeter of the fire that is already burning. I want you to keep your eyes on 3 particular areas of this map. Keep looking at the communities of Sheridan, Flin Flon, and Pucketawakan. Now let's stop here on May 28th. Let's go in closer. We can see the 3 fires in each community clearly burning now, and those fires continue to grow and grow, forcing nearby communities to evacuate. And now the fires near Sheridan and Flin Flon have merged with a third in Saskatchewan, creating one massive fire. All 4 so far burning an area almost 9 times the size of the city of Winnipeg. Riley Laychuk, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Vancouver company is hoping to win a global race to recreate the sun's conditions here on Earth. Johanna Wagstaff has that story next.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC inbox.
Check out CBC NewsBC, your local streaming channel. It's a free ad-supported TV channel available 24/7, delivering breaking news, weather updates, daily headlines, and sharing stories that matter to British Columbians. Stream your favorite CBC programs like The Early Edition, BC Today, and On the Coast. CBC NewsBC is available on connected TV platforms.
Creating the conditions of the sun on Earth has been a decades-long global challenge. But if we crack it, fusion power could be a source of limitless clean energy. Johanna Wagstaff visits a Vancouver company betting on a bold new approach to get there first.
There's a tech race going on right now. At least 50 companies around the world chasing the same wild dream, clean, limitless energy. Fusion energy could be the next big thing in sustainable power, and Canada is very much in the running. So do we have what it takes to crack it? The answer might be here. This sci-fi looking machine is where Canadian company General Fusion is placing its bet on one of the boldest energy ideas out there. They think they can do what no other company has done yet, essentially creating a star here on Earth. Okay, to understand what I mean, we first need to talk about what is fusion. So really quickly, fusion is when you smash two hydrogen atoms together with such insane force they fuse together. That releases a huge amount of energy at the atomic level, way more than most sources we use today. It's the same concept that powers the sun, and essentially the opposite concept to nuclear fission, where atoms are split apart. Also, fusion uses hydrogen. That's pretty easy to get from water. So we're talking about the potential for sustainable, unlimited energy with no meltdown risk, no long-term radioactive waste, no mining for radioactive ores. That sounds pretty magical, right? Well, there's a catch. The reason no one has been able to do this,
it can't be sustained. We're putting more energy into creating the fusion than actually comes out of the process. So we can start it, but how do we contain it? And how do we contain it for long enough that we can actually get more energy out than we put in to start the fusion reaction?
to get hydrogen atoms to fuse, you need conditions that are hotter than the core of the sun. We're talking hundreds of millions of degrees, and that takes a massive amount of energy. So how is general fusion different?
Behind me is LM26. It will demonstrate fusion conditions in our unique approach called magnetized target fusion, and it will achieve temperatures of 10 million degrees within the next few months, 100 million degrees shortly after that, and ultimately will keep those temperatures, increase the density, and get to fusion conditions that we consider break-even conditions, where you actually have the conditions where you get more energy out of the reaction than it took to create it, which will be the first private company in the world to achieve that.
Unlike other teams using giant lasers or magnets to do the fusing, General Fusion is betting on a hybrid approach. They're using compression, straight up mashing like a piston that squishes plasma inside molten lithium. This approach is designed to be cheaper, faster, and easier to scale. It's not just a test, though. It's meant to prove that this technology can work outside a laboratory.
Our plan is to put our first power plant on the grid in the mid-2030s. We're on track to do that because of all the work we've done previously has led us to this position now where we've got this machine that over the next 2 years is going to demonstrate break-even fusion conditions, which will be a massive milestone for us and the fusion industry.
They've got backing from governments, private investors, even individuals like Jeff Bezos, because if this works, it could change everything. But let's be real. There's a running joke in the science world. Fusion is always a decade away.
Fusion is unlikely to play a role until probably 2050s, I would imagine. It's important to not take our eye off what is happening now. We have a lot of cost-effective ways of reducing emissions, of cleaning up our electricity system right now. That includes renewables, conventional nuclear, and energy efficiency. And we should not wait for this magical solution that may come up in 20 years. It's also important to recognize that even when fusion is developed and is finally commercialized, which I hope will happen in the next coming decades, it's still going to be very expensive.
So can Canada win the fusion race? It's still anyone's game, but if General Fusion pulls this off, Canada wouldn't just be in the race, it could help change the future of energy.
Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News. You can watch this newscast on our free CBC Gem app, as well as on our YouTube and on our website at cbc.ca/BC. I'll have your next local news at 11 o'clock. Hope you have a great night.